Hey guys, Puppy here. This is a quick introduction video to Final Factory. We're going to be whipping through the basics and early game so you can get ready to enter the mid game with a solid foundation. Please note that I am playing a pre-alpha playtest version. This is slightly after the pre-alpha release of the demo, but not very much, so everything that we cover here you should be able to put to use in your demo playthroughs. Now to begin with, we're going to play a new game. Objectives, won't be needing that. Everything else we're just going to leave as standard.
Welcome, traveler. You have been sent to these deep reaches
Okay,
of the
well this
cosmos
is
to
an
grow.
incredibly good role for our starting
Through a
map,
dark
so that's very
leviathan you
nice.
have come, you
And
must
we're going to
consume
start
all
by
there
just
is in this
harvesting
space to find
some
your
of
way
all of the
to
basic
life.
resources.
You are many,
Just hold right click on the
and you will be
asteroid,
more.
resources spawn when the bar fills up. Use WAS, move around, pick them up. We're just going to mine a few hundred of each of the basic resources so that we can get started. You can press the space bar for a little afterburner that helps you get from A to B. Now then, in the early game, the main resource we'll be needing is actually iron. Kind of similar to Factorio. So I'm just going to press E to open the crafting menu, and we want to make some crafting stations, mining stations, which will house miner bots that mine stuff for us. And additionally, we are going to want to make some infrastructure for turning that into something of use. Now, I've got like a standard mining station setup that I commonly use, which I'm going to show you right here. This should do. Now, we're also going to need a couple of these construction bots. They actually put structures down for us, so if you don't have any, then not much is going to happen. These connectors, they carry items between buildings. Solar panels, they power stuff. Finally, we are going to make some basic miner bots. We're actually going to make quite a few of those because we need quite a bit of iron. So with these mining stations, then the miner bots will mine iron and come and put it in the stations for us. This connector basically just means that all the iron ends up in these two stations here, so we can actually get at it. And we should have a decent iron supply going forwards. Moving on from that, we're going to turn the iron into something a little more useful. In the early game, the most important component you can have is this one, medium density structure. You need it for almost all buildings, and you'll be needing a lot of buildings. So having a lot of medium density structures is very good. So we are going to build a couple of inserter bots. Basically, these guys are just going to carry iron from the mining station into this atomic printer. This is kind of like an assembler. It just makes stuff for us. So now we are automatically pumping medium density structures into this cargo hold, which stores items. So whenever we're off doing other things, these little guys, they're just going to keep on mining ore, keep bringing it in, keep on making medium density structures. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually just going to double this up because we really need all the low density structures we can get our hands on. Okay, why am I doing it? You absolutely can copy and paste in this game, I just for some reason didn't. So, what have I not built? You. Yum. Ah yes, inserter bots. When we want to get our medium density structures, just mouse over the cargo hold, press Control, left click. Easy money. Now we do need to make some more miner bots to go in these mining stations. If you are nearby the mining stations, then the miner bots just kind of go there by default. If you're far away, like this, a bit further, they kind of just hover around the player. But when you get close to the mining stations, you can just press H whilst mousing over the station, and the bots will just go there automatically. So it's not a big deal if for some reason the mining bots don't automatically go to the station. Just press H and they'll head over. Right, now that we've got 2 atomic printers making medium density structures for us, they're flowing in at a pretty decent rate, so it's time for us to set up some basic production for the other 2 resources. Let's start with silica, because we don't seem to have very much of that right now. In fact, I just need to hand mine a little more, because we used it all on our iron production. But we're basically just going to do this, so I'm just going to copy this. Going to paste it somewhere vaguely sensible over here. Yep. And then we're just going to craft the stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2 of those. 1 of those, 1 of those, 1 of those. Another 1 of those, and 2 of those. Now, when we copy and paste stuff, then the settings are kept. Silica, this makes solid state laser. We need that for making mining drones. So that would be a very useful thing to have available as much as we want. Because as you can see at the moment, making each individual mining drone kind of takes a while, which is not really ideal. So we're just going to have some automation to make the solid state lasers, and then all the mining drones can just come out and make the stuff for us. Now, how many more mining drones do we need? It's like 6. Great. Now, solid state lasers, they're pretty expensive. They're not going to build up that quickly, but the thing is that once you're done like getting stuff set up, you don't really need that many solid state lasers, so we're not going to invest too heavily in producing a ton of them, not like with the medium density structures. Meanwhile, we're going to do exactly the same thing over here with this bauxite asteroid. And the thing that we build here is low density structure. Oop, seems like we need more medium density. Yum. Now we also do need some iron ore, but basically these guys mine iron a little faster than we're turning it into medium density structures. So just hold control, left click, drag over the mining stations, you'll pick up a bunch of ore, which is where we've gotten this stuff from. 2, 3 of those. Bang, 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 bang. So every time we're setting up new things, then it's taking us less and less time, which is how it should be. Now, conveniently, we've got 16, and that's exactly as many as we want, so just gonna get these guys started. And set this because we copied it from before, so now it should be low density structure. So this is going pretty well. We've got some medium density structures, and we've been making solid state lasers, which makes more miners. We're going to have loads more medium density structures down here, so this is a pretty good start for us. We've got plenty of mining going, and we're making all the things that we need, or at least enough of them. So I'm just going to come over here and collect the goodies. Now the only issue is that we're going to need quite a bit more silica and bauxite for the next stage of our expansion. So basically we're just going to expand our current production quite a bit. So I'm just going to do this, and then similarly over here I'm going to do this. Okay, that's actually quite a nice asteroid spawn when they all line up. These inserter blocks, we won't need those for a while, so I'm just going to get rid of them. Yep, it's quite nice when the mining stations just all line up like that. They don't always line up like that. You might have to move it back and forth or change the orientation of some of them. But it's not a big deal if that kind of thing happens, as long as you just have a decent supply of them and you can get the resources out from one side, then that's basically fine. Now let's just this going. And mining drones, we're going to need quite a few of those. Run out of low density structures. See, when you're looking at the crafting queue and you see these intermediates, then you know that means you need to go pick up more intermediates. But we're just going to make a bunch of them. This means that when we go to the next stage of our base, we're going to have plenty of silica. And we can come back and like fill out the mining stations later, so it's not really critical these guys are full, as long as we've just got a decent quantity, which you can see. This seems pretty reasonable. It's enough to get started with. You know, when I'm dragging over the mining stations, I'm getting some silica ore, so that's good. Meanwhile, we're basically just going to come over and do exactly the same thing here for the bauxite. Oh, you can see I've run out of medium density structure, so I'm just going to come over and get some more. And now I come back over here, and we're going to need 6 of those and 6 of those. We need more low density structures. So now again, I'm basically just gonna queue up a bunch of them. Doesn't really matter exactly how many we've got, as long as it's plenty, basically. Oh, yeah, solid state lasers, they're surprisingly expensive. Right, now that we've got a decent amount of mining going on, then we need to do a bit of research. Basically, this whole like manually making mining bots thing is very tedious because they have a limited lifespan. For those of you who are Factorio players, this is kind of similar to hand feeding coal and stuff into your furnaces. It's going to get old pretty quick, so we want to move on. And the thing that we need to move on from that, if you press T to open the technology screen, is this ship assembly. Now, in order to get research in Final Factory, then basically once again we're going to use bots, and you get these dedicated asteroid research stations. Now, the thing about this is that they take up space around the asteroid where you want to put your mining stations. So typically you put them where you're probably not going to need to add more mining, which is the iron asteroid, especially around the side, like over here. That way they're not going to get in the way of our future base. And they just require 1 solar panel to run. That's fine. Now, we need 15 research points, which means we need exactly 6 miners. But unfortunately we can't make any miners. Asteroid research bots. Didn't have enough resources, but we've got plenty of resources in our mining stations now. So I just go over there and bang, I pick them up. So that was 4, 5, and this is going to be 6. So now we're going to get the most basic technology that we need, and we need to work on a production station that's going to make use of it. Now, the thing to keep in mind about our base is going to be about where we're going to put things, which is going to become relevant now. Basically, our starter base, it's going to be somewhere between the 3 asteroids, so like around here. So we want to put our starter base somewhere else, so it doesn't get in the way. The most common place is going to be up here between the silica and bauxite asteroids. And it doesn't have to be anywhere in particular, it's just more convenient. And basically we're just going to set up a little thing that produces miner bots and research bots for us, so that we don't have to keep resupplying them by hand. We will have to keep resupplying it, but much less often, essentially. And for that, we are going to need a bunch of cargo holds. We're going to need a bunch of solar panels and inserter bots. And we're also going to need a few other bits and pieces. These atomic printers, and we are going to need our ship assemblers. Come on, buddy. Bang! Ship assemblers. We're going to need 2 of those. So we're just going to go over here where there's quite a bit of space, and we're just going to give ourselves some space. Now, you may wonder what the purpose of all of this is. Basically, it's just so that we don't have to keep coming back all the time to refill this place. We can just like make one trip and then it suffices for quite a long time. So we're going to place inserter bots here, which move resources around, and we're going to use a station core. Now station cores, they're a bit of a weird building in the current version. They have a lot of unexpected uses, but one of the uses that we're going to put them for right now is for this thing, the distribution inventory. And that basically means that when we load items in with the inserter bot, then the station core can supply them anywhere. So when we have connectors which we filter to that resource, then they're just going to draw it straight out. And we are going to need plenty of those resources, which is why I've put quite a few cargo holds here, so we don't have to make too many trips. Now we're going to make cargo drones, and for that we need solid state lasers. So I've set this connector to silica and this atomic printer to solid state laser. And the other thing that they need is low density structure. I've set that slightly wrong, it should be like this. So now if we put silica and bauxite into these cargo holds, it'll go into the station core, into the atomic printers, and then lastly we're just going to put the ship assembler down, and we'll just set some connectors to carry the outputs, and set you to miner bots. So now we just need to deal with heat and power. So we don't really have any decent power technology at the moment. One heat exchanger will deal with these two buildings. The ship assembler also produces its own heat, so I'm just going to add another heat exchanger over here. Now power, we need 18 power right now. We're going to need a little more later, but we can put some solar panels around here. So the only thing I'm thinking about is whether we've left enough space for power. So what I'm actually going to do is just move these guys slightly further out. One of the advantages of inserter bots is they can go over solar panels. So now we'll be able to add solar panels in this space here if we need to. And when we are making miner bots, then they will go, they fly themselves. We don't have to like set inserters or connectors or anything to carry them. They will just fly themselves where they need to go. But they need to be within a certain range. When you look at these little dashes that are coming out of the ship assembler, you can see that not many of our mining stations are in range. And that's what these guys are for, fleet navigation centers. If you've played Factorio, they're kind of like roboports to some extent, and you can see that they extend the range effectively. This is a slightly awkward place to put one, but let's do this for now. So now the important thing is the ship assembler, there's a line going to the fleet navigation center, so the mining ships can come here and then they can go to any of our mining stations. They're all in range. This guy only needs one solar panel for power, so that's fine. So now in principle we've set that up and we just need to actually put some goddamn ore in, which is why we set up all these extra miners so that we've got plenty. Now each one of these cargo holds carries 400 ore. So actually I might just go back and pick up everything we've got. But this is gonna last us for a while. That's like 1600 ore that we've just put in, so that's fine. Meanwhile, we're going to do exactly the same thing for the bauxite. We're just going to pick up all the ore that we haven't used, and we're just going to put it in. Okay, so yeah, as expected, that wasn't quite enough power. One thing that happens in Final Factory is that when you look at the power consumption of a station, then that can change depending on whether or not the buildings are actually operating or not. So if they're not currently working, then the power required might be a bit optimistic. So sometimes you just kind of turn it on and see what happens. But now that we are producing miner bots, then all of these guys are going to fill up over time. which is especially good because you can see here all of our iron miners actually ran out, which is not a good position to be in, but it's not an emergency now because we're just gonna refill. So the next issue is that we don't have any research coming in, which is not great because obviously we want to be researching while we're doing other things, and we already have all the materials that we need over here, and we've got a big bank, so we're just going to set that up. Now, my asteroid research bots require low density structure and AI controller circuit. These things are made from silica and bauxite, so they're a little more complicated to set up, but luckily this case is very easy. So we're just gonna... We've got plenty of surface area to supply all of the ingredients, and then we're just gonna set this to make asteroid research bot. Now, we need a bit more heat. Okay. Actually don't have any bauxite, but that's okay. I'll just go get some. So, heat, yes I need, and power, yep we need quite a bit more power, but that is fine. I've got plenty of materials, so I'm just going to spam out some more solar panels on this thing. Okay, so now the only thing that we are going to have to do is we are going to have to keep hand feeding these cargo holds, which is not really ideal, but we'll worry about that in a moment. And we don't have to do it that often though, because we've got lots of ore coming in and lots of storage capacity, so all we're really going to do is just take all the ore and then come over here, fill in the ore in quite large batches, and then we won't have to worry about it for a long time. Well, not like a long time, but several minutes I would say for this thing. So it's not fully automated, but it's not that bad. So the next thing that we are in absolutely desperate need of is cargo drones. These guys, they really help get your stuff from A to B in the early game when you don't have haulers, and right now between these different places we're mining quite a lot of resources, but we don't really have a super great way of getting them from A to B, whereas with the cargo drones we will be able to get them from A to B. So next time we will cover building a starter base which is a little more automated so that we're not hand feeding any ore, and we'll have access to the whole output of all of our resource miners so that we can really get building stuff.